Good morning and welcome to the Enterprise Editorial Board. I've been doing Patriot Ledger too, to the Enterprise Editorial Board. We are on the record. Maria will probably report out
Sure.
on this for a story. And you can start with some opening remarks, or we can jump into questions as you choose.
Let's just jump into the questions.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Well, the three of you know me. It's the first time I met you.
Yeah.
But just a little bit of my background. I was born and raised here. I'm 51 years old in Brockton here. I grew up on Glenwood Street, which is right next to Vincente's, the new supermarket. I have three children: 27-year-old daughter, 25-year-old son, and a 16-year-old daughter. I was a city councilor for Ward 7 for 8 years. Sorry. Before that, I was heavily involved in the PTAs. I was the Parent Advisory Council president at the B.B. Russell for 1 year while they were building the Angela School for 5 years, and then my daughter went over to the Franklin, so my youngest one. So I was there for 1 year as a PTA president. So I've been involved. I coached Little League for the North Side for 18 years. We had all the kids, basically all the kids, majority of kids from the Battles Farm area. So it's a low income area, low income kids, and we just helped them out. That's me, the gist.
If you had to, tell me in a nutshell why you've chosen to run again for mayor.
I just don't like. I was a city council for 8 years, and I ran for mayor 2 years ago. Did not make the preliminary, so I took that time off and rejuvenated my batteries. Because as a city councilor, it's considered a part-time job, but it's actually a full-time job. So I missed a lot of family outings, a lot of family parties, missed a lot of time with the kids, and so I took the 2 years, and I actually, quite honestly, thought I was all done with politics. And I saw at the beginning of this year, I saw that in May, that Mr. Taggart decided to run, who supported me 2 years ago, and we have the mayor here, but no one else was stepped up. And I thought that with the lack of experience Mr. Taggart had, that he would need a huge learning curve in order to accomplish anything. He had no experience in city government. I had 8 years going over the city's budget and all, and getting to know the departments and the department heads. So I decided on the 14th of July, which is my older brother's birthday, that I was going to pull papers, and I did. So I just felt that the mayor is not doing what he wanted to do. He promised he was going to do. I didn't see the city going in a good direction. The crime was up, no matter how they want to take the numbers and spin them a little bit, but the shootings are definitely up. The murder rates combined with 2 years are up, and the fear of crime is huge right now, especially knocking on the doors that we've been knocking on. In my campaign, we haven't raised a lot of money, but we're definitely the basic grassroots campaign, and that's where we get out and we talk to people face to face. I don't have the money to do advertisings on cable, or actually, I'm sorry, but I don't have the money to do advertising with your paper. But if I had it, I would. But it's unfortunate that I rather not take on all that money from the residents. I rather I was never really good at fundraising myself, because I just don't like asking people to take their money out of their pockets. And so I rather go out there and knock on the door. So we raised enough money. We have enough money right now where we can do some mailings, and then we did mailings before, but so that's why I got into it. And quite honestly, by the time when I pulled papers, we had our first fundraiser on August 13th to raise money to buy the literature and print up the literature. It was 5 weeks before the preliminary that we had to really push. So we concentrated on certain wards that we knew were heavy voters, and we didn't get to every door, every city of Brockton, but we concentrated a lot. And on basically Ward 1, Wards 3, 4, a little bit of 5. So we touched base with every ward, but it wasn't as heavy as knocking on doors is those critical wards to get us over the threshold from the preliminary. Now we're concentrating on the rest of the city. So.
You know Mark, right, Chris?
Yes, I know.
Okay.
Hey, Mark,
Chris.
what?
That's it. Seen you. How's your leg?
My foot's okay. It's good. It still hurts, but I broke my foot back at the end of May, and they
That's a long
June
recovery.
4th they had to put they had to operate on and put a screw in, and I was in a cast for 6 weeks, and then so I pulled papers, and while I had a walking boot, and I got you have to do what you have to do. I'm passionate.
Knocked on doors with a walker.
Yes. Well, I was at first it was crutches and a boot. Yeah. So
So you mentioned crime.
yes.
What other issues do you feel Carpenter hasn't done well enough?
The amount of excessive spending that I can see, and I know that he walked in and promised that he's going to fight crime, which I don't blame. What he did is that he had the budget had $600,000 for police overtime, and they went through it within 3.5 months, and they had to go back to the city council for 300 more. With that amount of money, they could have something should have been positive reaction results. I didn't see that. A lot of these right now that if you look at the agendas, the CFO is not certifying the new hirees, the new contracts beyond 2016, which ends June 30th. He's saying basically what he said is that the contracts, along with the new hirees, are going to escalate the budgets in balance. And that's another thing where Moody's picked up on is the fiscal mismanagement, along with that $68 million lawsuit. But it's a civil lawsuit, federal civil lawsuit. But that wasn't the highlight of theirs. That was right at the very bottom of their reasoning. But it was mismanagement or the city's unwillingness to address the fiscal problems.
As I recall, that has been an ongoing
Power
concern
plant.
for about 10, 12 years.
When
About
excuse me. When I became council in 2006, it was a hot issue.
Yeah.
And I went and I didn't really know too much about the power plant in the beginning because Ward 7 is complete opposite of where Ward 4 is. We're northwest, and this power plant's in the south side of the city. So I was having ward meetings. I educated myself with the power plant, and spoke with the residents down in Ward 4. They were totally against it. But over the years, a lot of the people that were against it have now either passed or. So it's like the company's a wait out game. Let's get the people who are really opposed to it. Hopefully they'll move away or they'll do something else. But I had a bunch of meetings, ward meetings as a city councilor, and asked the residents in Ward 7 because I was their representative. How they felt about the power plant. And we had fought before I was a councilor. We had fought against the trash transfer station, which was up almost into the Avon line. And people who, the Ward 4 people actually helped out the Ward 7 people, so they felt that they needed to help the Ward 4 people out. It's something in your back, not in my backyard mentality, but it's a good not in my backyard mentality, because it's critical that you don't keep on adding bad things to the city, bad business to the city. Although they keep on claiming it's going to bring in millions of dollars. It's my view that for disclosure, I work for Veolia Water of North America. We're contracted by the city of Brockton, along with New Bedford, Fall River. We do lens plants. My company's a huge conglomerate out of France, but we do the wastewater. We run the wastewater side for Brockton. I've been down there for 21 years as a wastewater operator, and we also run the water plant for Brockton. My goal is to expand the wastewater plant. If you look at there's a company in Quincy that uses the Deer Island waste to convert it into pellets, and they sell it, and they take it out in the rail lines, and off they go to the Midwest and South, and whoever it's a good, profitable company. So we can regionalize this wastewater treatment plant that way by expanding the wastewater treatment plant, closing down that incinerator, which we don't, because we're burning it right now,
The waste, yeah.
and waste, and create a for-profit entity. So
What I was actually asking previously about, and I'm glad you went to the power plant,
Sorry.
was the fiscal, the lack of
Oh,
fiscal
sorry.
management.
Yeah.
It's my understanding that, as I recall, that has been an ongoing outside rating systems criticism of Brockton for more than a decade.
Right.
Through your tenure on the city council,
Right.
and I think 2 mayors, if not 3.
For my tenure, it was 2.
Yeah, but this whole issue of Brockton not addressing its financial shortfalls or managing its budget well is not a new.
Right.
Is
No,
that
it's not.
correct?
Yeah, and we would have the chief financial officer come in front of us, and every year at the budget time. Now, the city council is the legislative side. We approve the budget, but we can cut the budget. We can't actually make the budget up. It's up to the mayor and the chief financial officer. So what we had during my tenure is that the chief financial officer would come in and say, well, we're 12 million in a deficit. We don't know where we're going to go. We're going to have to lay off these people. And that would be in the beginning of May, and when we get the budget at the end of May, everything's all there. I don't know where they found the money. They would never allude to where they found the money. And Steve's been, and Maria's been, they've been here for quite a long time, and it's an ongoing, game. I call it that the CFO is trying to just give us the scare tactics, so we won't cut the budget. So I know we had, we've been using the stabilization money. When I was there, I think we had, when I first started in 2006, our stabilization money I think was close to 8 to 10 million, and now it's down. I think it's below 2 or 1.5. So they've been using that as to do programs or add money to the budgets and so on. So it's something that the DOR recommended that we have a successor to Mr. Condon, because he's getting up there in his age and he's looking to retire. So that's one of the plans I intend to do, is to have someone shadow him in order to make sure that, and I love to do an audit to find out exactly, an independent audit, exactly where our money is, each department, and find out if we have the excess, enough money to bring back the teachers, hire more police officers using that. It's my goal as a mayor also, is to approach the city council to use some of that stabilization money, set it aside strictly for hiring of the public safety people. Right now, it's open for anything. So I want to make sure that a certain percent is going to be, and you have to actually do a home rule petition to the state in order to, make sure that percentages of that stabilization money can go to the public safety people.
You brought up the CFO. I'd be interested in your assessment of, either your assessment of the current city department heads, or your thoughts on how, if at all, you would change or restructure the executive management of the city departments.
Well, as far as the chief financial officer, he was hired mandatory by the state back when we almost fell into receivership, 91, I believe it was. He did a great job. He's very conservative, which is fine. It's just fine. It's fiscal conservative. It's great. But I just don't, like what him and I have had exchanges here and there while I was a counselor. Sometimes the numbers weren't adding up for me, and I'm not one to hold back. If I'm not happy, I'll let you know, and we'll work on it. But John has been is a good person. He means well, but I want to know, and it's a little vague on exactly how much money we have everywhere. We have an independent auditor come in, I believe it's KPMG. But we've been using that same auditor for so many years. It's almost like a rubber stamp. I rather have, and I spoke with the gentleman who was actually the town manager for Drake, and he offered me a few other auditors that are pit bulls, that to maybe change it up. And I want to try to do that, change the auditors.
Who decides who the auditor is? Is it the council or is
No,
it the
no, it's
executive?
the executive.
The executive,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
What about other departments? Do you see any room for change, improvement, issues that have arisen that you feel have not been dealt with?
I mean, right now we're short manager at the highway department. We have Craig Young, who retired. He's now coming back as a consultant. We had Mike Curtin, who was the second in charge. He retired also. So right now, I'm not sure who's running the department. And quite honestly, when I started running, and along with Mr. Tagger, Mr. Hopgood, they complained to me because I didn't need to speak with the department heads. I knew most of them. I've been only out for 2 years. It's the same department heads as they were before. Quite honestly, they were upset that they would have to make an appointment with the mayor's chief of staff in order to speak with any department head, and I thought that wasn't fair to anyone. They work for the city of Brockton. They're employees. Your taxes pay their salary, so it doesn't make any sense. Why not just allow them to sit down with them? A couple of years ago, Mr. Condon sat down with Paul Beckner for 3 hours to go over the budget and everything, because he was trying to educate himself, and that was okay for anyone to do that. But Mr. Tagger and Mr. Hopgood were not too happy. They mentioned it to me, but I just said good luck to you trying to get an appointment. But I mean, I never tried, and so because I didn't need to. I know Larry Raleigh well. He was the utility superintendent. Now he's the DPW superintendent. And then Mr. Brophy, I know Mr. Condon. Mr. Casseri, Pam Gurley up in planning. I don't know the new planner, Mr. May, but I've seen him here and there. But I don't need to, go into these departments. And I would.
You don't feel that's an issue at this juncture?
I just wanted to make sure that they do the right job, do the job well. That's what my goal is as a mayor, is to make sure is not to micromanage these departments, especially the police department. I know I graduated with the chief, John Crowley. He's a nice gentleman. I have no issues with John. So we just got to make sure that everything is being implemented correctly. I want to hear from the brass as a mayor what their plan might want to be, what they feel is not being instituted right now. I'm not a professional police officer or law enforcement officer, so I'm just going to give them the tools that's necessary if they're looking for it. But I personally think that we need to have more outreach with the community. I like to see some programs, and this nation's is a copycat nation. If some city's doing the right thing, then we should do it. New York City, they have programs for the youth, summer camps for the police officers for the youth, and it's something that I want to try to implement here, to try to touch the kids, reach out to the kids, and make sure that they don't, the young kids, I'm talking elementary, starting down there, I'm talking, making them feel comfortable approaching a police officer, and then making sure our police officers are comfortable speaking with the children. We have the motorcycle police right now, and quite honestly, all they do is they're told to do is just to drive. They don't usually take calls unless it's emergency, but their job is to go through and make it look like they're, safe neighborhoods. But and I think of it this way: when I was a kid, we used to play street hockey all the time in Glenwood Square, and my mother had a scanner, and she used to call one of the neighbors, this elderly lady. She didn't like us playing street hockey there, so she would call the police. So my mother would come out and yell, "The police are coming." So we would take the nets and pull them off to the side, go walk into a friend's backyard, watch the cruiser go by, and what happens after the cruiser goes by? We're back out in the street again. And that's what's happening here with the motorcycle. I think they could be used more essentially as a community outreach with the kids. Go to stop off at the baseball, soccer games. Get off the motorcycles. Interact with them. If there's nothing going on, if they're 4 to 12 and there's nothing really going on, then start taking the calls. They're all paired up. A lot of calls that we get here in Brockton is domestic violence, and you can't have one police officer there because you don't know what they're walking into. So you have to take at least 2 or 3 cruisers and bring them over there. So midnights, there's maybe 6 cruisers or so out and about, maybe 6 to 8, and a couple of detective cars. But if they have an incident that they have to go, you're taking 2, 3, sometimes 4 cruises. We don't have enough people on board, but as far as the motorcycle goes, like again, I was at the Edgar's Park, and they were standing by the motorcycles, just standing there. There's kids in the playground. They had a concert there, and they didn't interact with anyone. Same thing with the Summerfest. They were standing by the motorcycles, and they looked extremely stern and unapproachable. And that's not what we should have for an image of our police officers. We want police officers to, if we want to try to, have the kids interact with us, we need to be more polite and approachable.
Well, you mentioned community outreach. If we can divert from crime, because a medium to long range plan can bear fruit in terms of changing the image of police with the younger generation. But we have a significant crime problem now. We also have, from the previous mayoral campaign, the issue was raised about the lack of inclusiveness in city jobs from our minority communities, and the fact that things seem to be closed, opportunities seem to be closed. I'm wondering if you going door to door, you have heard that, or if in terms of HR policies, hiring policies, you would do anything to outreach more to our minority communities.
Well, we got to work together as a community to get everyone together. I mean, right now I feel it's isolated. The mayor has isolated a lot of groups, and I've been hearing a lot from the other groups that are isolated. He's keying in more of the Haitian, Cape Verdean, and I'm getting phone calls, and I've also met with the African Americans and the Latinos that feel that they've been pushed to the side, and because they're not of that ethnic background, they're not being given the fair chance. We absolutely need to open it up, but I've met with a bunch of pastors and reverends, and they want to help out. They want to do the community programs. They want to actually have more people involved of diversity, and this is what the city's all about. I know that the mayor has hired 9 police officers coming out of the academy now, and I believe 7 out of 9 are of minorities, and which is great. But he also admitted that he had to dig way down on the list to get these people up, and I'm not sure why they're so far down on the list. Maybe we can have some tutoring going involved, saying this is what these questions are. Well, this is the test consists of. Let's practice on this. You want to be a police officer? Let's help out. You're of whatever background you are, whatever ethnic background you are. If they want to help out the community, then let's try to help them, educate them, and so they can do better on the scores. Right now, there's no program out there that from the city side that helps out the residents. That's where the community. Another thing I want to do is open up a community center where the kids can go after school and collaborate with the Brockton School Department and the Brockton Libraries, where they can go after school. Something, the Boys and Girls Club is more sports oriented. I want this to be more of an educational, or to get them off the streets where they can help with tutoring after school if you need any help there. On the other side, I would love to have an adult learning center where they can teach, English second language people, adults, the families, the mothers, fathers, and so on, and also job training. We need to reach out and try to educate these people and saying, you are not just going to be a dishwasher all your life. What is your goal? Do you want to be something to do with computers, or do you want to be something to do with, a writer? So a journalist. So, this is something that we need to reach out and open up, and open the doors, allow these people to think above, raise the bar, and say, I'm not just going to be here. And one of the Elijah said, we're always going to be a blue collar town. We're never going to be a white collar town or city. And I don't feel that's the case. If we want to go ahead and be we're going to be a mix. We're a mix right now, but why tell people they're never going to be able to get good, sustainable jobs? Being a manager for a large company, that's lowering the bar for these people. That's telling the people that you're going to be, low educated, and you're not going to be able to do anything with yourself.
Okay, so you open the door to blue collar versus white collar, which is economic development.
Sure.
Part of it is regional, and we understand that,
Right.
cooperatively with other communities and with the state, in terms of business development. But part of it is having a vision for Brockton about where would your administration focus energies on recruiting or developing business industry for this city?
Okay. Well, I mean, as you can, I'm not sure, you're not familiar with, I used to be the council 7. When I took over in 2006, we had a bunch of open and empty buildings, and I concentrated on speaking with the commercial realtors and find out what companies are looking to move. Mm-hmm. And we fought hard, and myself, and we brought in the Northeast Electric. Also on Oak Street, that brought in a lot of jobs, and both blue collar and both white collar. Same with the Crown Uniforms and Linens. That was a 20-acre site. It was the old Howard Johnson's factory. They had contaminated soil. It took 3 years for that to convince the company, because we were fighting with New Bedford, Mansfield, and Fall River for their company. Their headquarters is now here in Brockton. They came in, they cleaned up the land. They spent $1 million, a little over $1 million, to clean the land up. Came in here, and they built a beautiful headquarters that I think is great for our community. They hired about 135 people. They brought some people in, but they closed their place down in Fall River, and I believe they were supposed to close their place down in South Boston. But this is their headquarters. I worked hard with the Westgate Mall to have, when New England Development took it over, I sat down with them, and they asked what was wrong with the city of Brockton. Why aren't they coming to the mall? Yeah. And I said, the lighting is poor, your security is poor, your facade needs to be upgraded. I asked for a second floor like the Braintree for a food court, and they said that's not going to happen. But they would work to get more restaurants in there. And we had designs for a movie theater where the new Market Basket is. But unfortunately, they had the company for the movie theaters had a little in-house fighting, and half the board wanted to expand and half did not. So they pulled out, and then I was approached by the Westgate Mall asking me if I thought of a supermarket would be good. And I said, well, we used to have a Purity Supremes up where A.J. Wright and A.J. Moore's is. I think is it Moore? A.J. Moore? Or I don't know.
Yeah.
A.C. Moore. Sorry about that.
I didn't know either.
All those
But it used to be a Purity
initials.
Supreme.
Yeah.
It didn't really last too long. So I just said it all depends on which one it is. It makes a big factor. It's got to be a Stop and Shop or a Shaw's. It's not gonna do well. And they mentioned that they possibly might get a Market Basket. Now I've known that my parents they moved to Rainham in the 55 and over, and they loved the Market Basket. Raved about how cheap it was and how clean everything was. And I knew people driving down there. So I said, let's do it. But I had to keep it quiet for a while they were talking over. But That brought in a lot of jobs. Well, around 400 people. So to my administration, when I get in there, we're going to key in on. I know there's a new plan right now. The mayor just released a 2025 plan, but Council Sullivan had the 40B, which is accepted here in Brockton, which is multi-use, commercial, residential. So that's what basically helped with the Trinity building. I actually brought in the 43D, which is the expedited permitting. So that helps. The land you had to actually choose a piece of property in order to get be awarded by the state. They had actually grant money awarded to us, and we had over 150,000 originally, but unfortunately the former planner dragged her feet, and we lost 50,000 of that because of the timeline. So that brought in another $100,000 where we had for grant money, which we could evaluate the downtown area, which is Mayor Harrington at the time used that. So, but that was for expediting permitting for these companies to come in, to cut through the red tape and stop the nonsense of waiting around for these, and it helped out with the crown uniforms. So it's my goal is to push more. Downtown Brockton's got to be two-way. I was years ago. I always
How
said.
many years has that conversation been going on?
Years ago, I was against it because I felt that it was a waste of money. But I've been speaking with the business people, and they're saying, "No, Chris, it's not. We definitely need it." But I know that it was money earmarked for $6 million, I believe, $5 or $6 million, and supposedly it's still set aside. But it's going to cost probably more than that. But it's vision. You need to try to make that into two-way, and that's, I think, what part of this plan is with the 2025 also. But it's to pull it back a little bit. And when I was a counselor I left at the end of 2013. We made an ordinance that demanding that the city has to hire a city planner. It's a city ordinance now. And I'm glad that the Mayor Carpenter implemented that but he had no choice. It's a city ordinance. But that was implemented. The business that you see going on now, being built right now, was already approved back when I was a city council. So it's nice to take claim that you worked with the Trinity to do that multi-use square block, or it's nice to take claim that you did the downtown, the city hall plaza renewal. That was all approved when I was a city councilor. It wasn't under this administration, and that's what I don't like. What's going on too is that I know whoever sits in the big chair usually claims, it's for me. It's not. I mean, I'm the person where if you come up with a better idea or a good idea, I'm giving you the credit. I'm not going to take the credit. I worked hard with the Crown uniforms along with B21, and we convinced the mayor Balzar at the time to give them a tax increment financing, or offer them. Then I had to turn around as a city councilor and convince my colleagues that it's a good thing. So that's how the city should be working. We got to work together. But under my administration, this downtown manager we have right now, I don't think. I know I spoke to John Marion. He wanted to try to do it before, back in 2013. If they're convinced that a downtown manager is a necessity, then I'm going to hire a downtown manager who's qualified. Right now, Mr. Leonard, I don't think has the background to help bring in new business to the city of Brockton. I know he worked with the mayor doing the sports analysis and for the Brockton High football, and he was a manager at an oil company. But I don't think he has the background for planning, architectural background, or small business like that to bring in. I spoke with a bunch of people in the Main Street area. They really haven't been helped too much. There's no real new business coming in there. So this is what you have to bring in. So you got to sit back and talk to the owners. What's going to happen with this building here? What are your plans with it? And if you want to, we want to try to bring in a restaurant or something in that area. But it's right now it's been a ghost town since I was not when I was a kid. When I was a kid, it was really nice. because I used to walk down there a lot. We had Almies and everything down there. But lately, it's been a ghost town after 5 o'clock. There's a new shop, a coffee shop, and they're not open on weekends. And we were doing passing out, the backpacks with the kids on a Saturday, and I was down the street from the coffee shop. It's called Elvira's, and they're not open on Saturday. So I walked, and they're closed, I think, after 4. And she said, "There's no one here. There's no one here on the weekends. There's no foot traffic after 4." So she shuts down, and that's bad right now. It's not good for the city of Brockton. So we got to come up with a plan where we can bring in sustainable businesses that are going to want to be in downtown Brockton, and if we can expand it out, then we will do that. One of the key areas that should be addressed is as far as south side near Kmart. There's a huge amount of buildings that are empty there, and there's nothing going on. We got to come up with a better plan to bring in business that way.
Chris, how do you come up with a plan? How would you even start devising it?
Well, right now is we have the city planner there, and we would sit down, and I would actually have the same method as I brought in those companies, is approach the commercial realtors and ask them what companies are looking to move, what restaurants are maybe looking for a new home. I know that the fire just happened. That CJ Soul Food is looking to move. They're looking for another place. They asked me to look around because they want to stay in Brockton, but if they can't find a place in Brockton, they're not going to be here much longer.
But what about a grand plan?
Grand.
I'm not hearing a vision. I'm not hearing short, medium, long term. What is the grand vision? I'm hearing lots of piecemeal.
Right. Grand vision for downtown or for the whole city?
For the economic revitalization of Brockton.
Well, it's not the casino. That's not a good way. I don't think it is a good use of that land. If Mr. Connie wants to go ahead and sell it, then I'd rather see a Faneuil Hall style building going up there with multiple restaurants and stores and a enclosed sports dome. But as far as bringing in more business, we got to stop the nonsense with this crime. We're not going to be able to attract anyone. The long-term vision for me is to see downtown occupied with multiple restaurants and clothing stores and so on. I'd like to see a nice big large bank come in here to set up their headquarters, or and to have the white collar workers here. Well, I spoke with the former Brockton Redevelopment Authority head, and he wanted to bring in something that substance up to the Westgate Mall area. To build buildings large enough to hold these companies. I want to see multi-use. I'd love to see some type of like banks, but I also want to see investment firms here. I want to see some people here that want to stay here and work here and use the facilities here. As far as a long-term plan, it's always moving. It's always changing. We have to just sit down. I know you're telling me it's piecework, but we got to start somewhere. I mean, long-term vision of Brockton is get every building occupied and have a sustainable income coming in. But long-term vision, I'm not sure what the mayor has as long-term vision. I know that we need the necessities that we need is a new police and fire headquarters, which I saw plans before the Belzardi's. They're in Belzardi's administration. They were actually going to use the building right across directly from Commercial Street post office. They were going to convert that into it. I saw plans of it. It wasn't accepted by the former mayor. But go ahead.
What you're talking about are goals.
Yeah.
What is your plan, short, mid-range, long-term, to attain those goals? Are you working with federal legislators? Are you reaching out to Jay Ash? Are you working with the local Chamber of Commerce? Are you considering rezoning? What is the plan?
Well, I'm not working with anyone right now because I'm not in that chair. But it's my plan is to hire a full-time grant writing team. We need to reach out. I spoke with someone who used to work for the Homeland Security. And their plan, they said that, in one of the instances that they said that we had poor grant writing was the fire ladder truck for the federal government. It was poor. It was written poorly. They felt that they could help out and create a better, writing team or grant team. So that's my goal, is to create a grant writing team. We're all sporadic right now in the city of Brockton. We have a grant writer for the police department. We have a grant writer for the school department. But we need to work as a team. We have to work together. So I want to hire someone that knows what they're doing as far as obtaining grants, and that's not the solution, but it's a start. There's a lot of money out there available. We're not tapping into it. That's what my goal is to do. Start getting the grant writing team, working with the state, asking them to reformulate the Chapter 70 money for our schools. That's a big problem right now that we're seeing, because that's caused us to lay off some teachers and then make the city a better place, have a better reputation.
How do you, I have asked every mayoral candidate since 1998, how do you go about changing the external image of the city? Because everything you've talked about in terms of goals is correct, except enticing somebody to come here, given the city's reputation, unfounded as it may be, is an issue. So have you thought at all about how one goes about changing the external image of the city?
It's been like that since I was a kid, and the image, and so I'm 51 now, so it's not going to change overnight. But we got to push and make sure that we have to make sure that gun violence is down, and that alone, if we can show that we're moving, that the police officers are out there, the community reach out services are out there for the kids, and make sure and tell the people that from the other communities that we have a great school system here, but they don't want to come into our area. I don't think that putting a police tower in downtown Brockton is helping anything. I think it's hampering any new business trying to come into Brockton. If they're driving by that, they're going to say it's a high crime area. I'm leaving now. Stuff like that. But as far as changing the image, it's going to be a long process. We have to start, like I said, start with the crime, reducing the crime, staying out of the news media for the other negative, and start pushing for the positive. We have a lot of great talent in here in Brockton. We have a lot of great kids here, a lot of passionate people, that want to help out the city. So let's start spinning and moving into the positive side. This is Brockton as a regular neighbor. I mean, we've been knocking on a lot of doors, and they're frustrated with the crime. The people are.
So you've brought up crime a number of times, but you said that you are happy, you're satisfied with the job the police chief is doing, so you wouldn't change that?
I would have a sit down with Mr. Crowley and see what his vision is as far as running the station. I don't think he's running the station, quite honestly. I think the mayor's running the station. That's my view of it.
And would you add
I
to
would
the
not.
police budget? We did a comparison recently of the Brockton police budget as a percentage of the city budget, comparable to other cities.
6%.
And it's not nearly as
Right.
high. It's not equal to other cities.
Right.
Would you raise it?
If we had the money, yeah, we'd have to adjust that, to bring in more people. But we'd have to find the money. That's the problem. We have to shift it over. I would personally love to do away with the enterprise accounts, the water and sewer accounts. They're self-sufficient, but the enterprise accounts were put on the books by the state just to basically see the budget of your departments, to see how the departments how much they really use, and then it's not supposed to be permanent. So I'd love to see the extra money get put into the regular general fund, so we can shift it over to the police department.
One thing you said, Chris, is that the police force needs new technologies. Do you know what's technology?
We used to have what we had is a license plate readers for the cruises, and that I don't know why and
That
how
was gone?
it's gone. So that helped out the police officers while he's driving. As you can read the license plate saying, okay, this vehicle here has, it's not registered, or the owner of this vehicle has a warrant for their arrest, and it alerts them ASAP. And that's something that I want to implement. And back when we had one, it was as a counselor, it was $20,000, I believe. I'm sure it's more money now, but it's something. It's an investment that if it can help out the police officers and help give them the tools. I've heard from a few police officers that it was a pain because it went off so much. But if it's going off so much, that means those cars shouldn't be on the road. So let's just do your job, and I'll give you all the tools you can. But we need to, the shot spotter that we just expanded is a reactive tool. We had a small one back when I was a counselor, and it just showed that there's a shooting, and absolutely, yeah, we know what's happening, where it's going to be. But the 5 mile radius now that has, it's $600,000, and I'm not sure if it's worth it. I'd rather have hired the police officers with the $600,000 than to have a shot spotter, because I just don't think it's a reactive tool. I understand they can, target where the shots are coming from, or if they're moving in a vehicle. But if you have enough police officers out there, I don't think the shooting is going to happen as frequent as as you think.
It cost $600,000 a year for that?
I believe that's what they said. Yeah.
A year or
Oh, I
is it
think it was-
capital expenditure?
Was it a whole? I think it was 600 for the whole thing. I'm not sure yearly what it is.
All right.
Yeah,
I think
So-
that this one would be transferred to.
yeah, that's what suggested.
What's that?
I'm gonna go back to a question that's in the back of my mind now, in terms of your personal employment,
Mhm.
your position on the power plant, and your idea about you expanding the use of the wastewater. What would you say to people who might think that you have a personal and/or vested interest in diverting plans for the power plant to the benefit of the company that you've worked for more than 20 years?
Well, the company's not guaranteed to run the plant forever. I think it has 4 years left to its contract, but I'm not doing it to gain anything from my company. That's the field I'm in, and I know one of the maintenance workers, his cousin works there at the plant, and quite honestly, talking with his cousin, it's a profitable business. So that's my field, and everyone's talking about regionalizing the wastewater treatment plant, bringing in everywhere. We bring in Abington and Whitman right now, a little bit of West Bridgewater, but we can actually expand that and really build a good large plant. We did an $86 million upgrade, which mostly it's computerized now. So as an operator, we go out and we check on the machinery, but most of the time we're behind a computer, opening valves and adjusting chemicals and everything. So it's not for my company, why I'm coming up want to try this idea, but it's for the residents of the city of Brockton. And if I'm not going to be working, if I become mayor, I'm not working for Veolia Water anymore. I'm out. I have a wastewater license for the state. I can go anywhere I want, so I can work anywhere I want. So for wastewater, so my company only has a 6 months leave of absence. So I'm leaving my company.
Okay.
If I'm successful, I'm going to put everything into the city of Brockton. If I'm not, I'm going to be back down at the wastewater treatment plant. But I actually been out of work since the end of May. We have no short-term disability, so we've been one paycheck since beginning of August. So this is what I've been hopping along, but my company won't take me back until I'm 100%, and I'm not 100% yet.
Do you know what the sale of fertilizer pellets would generate? What kind of money might that make for Brockton? And do you know what it is made for Quincy?
No, I don't have that figure. It's a private company that does it.
Okay.
so it's not for the city of Quincy. So, I don't have the figures, I was told millions of dollars a year, so, I mean, it was vague. But I know that they ship them out everywhere, on the rail lines.
So the economic benefit to Brockton, it would be privatized as I believe you said, expanded on the location. I'm assuming most of this is automated and would not really result in a lot of jobs. So other than an increase in the taxes.
They would have to hire, more people to work down there.
But not enormous numbers.
Not 1,500 like the
No.
casino, no.
Okay, so that plan, as environmentally
generate
interesting
money.
as it may be,
Yeah.
would generate money for a private company, not for the city.
No, it'd be the cities.
Oh, you maintain it as a city?
Yes,
something
absolutely.
of a
Cities-
public-private partnership?
Yeah,
Okay,
but it would be our property, our
Okay.
machinery, and so on.
okay.
But,
that's good.
They privatized the wastewater plant back in '86, and that's basically what it's gonna probably continue.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna guarantee it, and I would have to step away, for this, because, conflict of interest. Because I used to work for that company, so let the board or whoever decides the highest bidder win, so.
You mentioned early on that we're a country that steals a good idea and runs with it. Is there a community in the state, and probably a gateway city in the state, that you've seen turn itself around or head in the right direction, that Brockton might use as even a partial model of how to regenerate itself?
Well, you have the Lowell and Lawrence, but they also have waterways, and that's something that we're lacking here at the city. So we don't have any, like down in Providence, they turned it around for quite a bit, but they have fire on the water, and they have all the places down there to go, but we don't have that piece of the puzzle that we needed. That would help us out tremendously. But I see Providence as one of the places that really turned around, Providence, Rhode Island. I know that Lawrence and Lowell have spun around quickly because of the old factories. They're all most of them occupied, but they're also on the waterway. But I would say, just compare it. I'd love to see Brockton be more of a Providence, Rhode Island. Turn it around, bring in more business that way. Vague.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of what Providence is known for, and it's tourism and restaurants,
It's,
basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
arts community.
Yeah,
Yeah.
arts
And
community.
Lowell turned it around, and neither of them used their waterway
Well-
as part of their revitalization.
Yeah.
For Lowell,
It
it's
was the
centered on
university.
UMass Lowell and
Well,
Marty Mann's vision, and
we don't-
partnering with private businesses
Right.
to expand that,
Mm.
and then building out from there.
Well, they have they're on the waterway. I've been up there.
I grew up in Lawrence, so I'm very
Yeah,
familiar
yeah.
with both
So I don't
of
have to
them,
tell
yeah.
you then. So
Yeah,
I just feel that it's an attraction. That's why I mentioned the waterways. It helps out, but
well, you speak of
UMass
attraction.
Lowell.
Do you think we had a real missed opportunity, or still have an opportunity with the Rocky Marciano? We got the statue, we have a house, we have an interesting trail, we have, that no administration really has ever taken a unified look at. I mean, look at how much energy went into that statue. Nobody goes there, nobody can
No,
get
it's
there,
not.
nobody
Yeah,
can see
you're
it.
right.
It's depressing.
Yeah.
I don't know
How
how
do
you
you-
feel about it. Do you think Brockton has the basis of a cultural attraction for sports fans, or could we build on music, or is there something there that you ever talked to people about?
They mentioned boxing here and there. It's nothing that they're excited about. Music wise, there's nothing here to excite the people. So far as that goes, and I spoke with a gentleman, and this is what we lost our identity. We used to be a shoe city, and we got to create a new identity now, and we're not sure where we're going to go. And I'm not 100% sure either. I mean, that's my problem. I mean, we need to figure out where we want to go. And I am running for mayor, but we need to sit down with the community leaders, and along with the planning department, and say, let's bring in this type. Let's try to shoot for these businesses here. Who's looking to move to Brockton? Who wants to move to Brockton? What's the reason why they don't want to move to Brockton? And right now, and I'm gonna go back again. Here goes the crime. But that's a huge factor, hampering on the city of Brockton. Is anyone that knows the city is not going to want to come into the city. I've got my brothers in Bridgewater. All his friends don't want to come back into the city. They're nervous and talking on these people. They've been knocking on the doors. They don't want to go outside and walk anymore.
But Chris, you mentioned the attractions that are needed and the money that's needed and the business that we need, but you are still against the casino.
Yeah.
And the reason you're against the casino is because it would be a quote blight and it would bring pawn shops and prostitutes to Brockton. What's that statement based on?
That was based on Mr. Hopgood's evaluation that he saw down in Tennessee. I don't think, I look at Plainville, their revenues are going down right now. There's no guarantee that the casinos are going to be here for a long, sustainable time. I don't want to see them build, first of all, I don't want to see them building a casino right across from a high school. That's my main issue with this, and I don't think it's a good place for it. I don't want to, this casino was sold to the residents as creating 1,500 jobs. But my issue with it is that they never told the residents who were voting that 1,500 jobs are for qualified people. And qualified, in order to be qualified to work there, you're going to have to do a background, which is the Corey check, and a credit check. If you have a blemish on your credit check, you're not allowed to work in a casino. And that's what a lot of these people didn't realize that. They were told that we're going to build this casino, we're going to have a great hotel here, and we're going to have 1,500 jobs, and we're going to have the restaurants in the hotel and everything. And we're going to get hotel motel taxes on that. We're already getting hotel motel taxes right now, but most of it, not all of it's going to the Rock Stadium. The B-21's taking all that. They're using that and turning it around and paying off the bond. I'd rather see the Rock Stadium go private.
Wait, is there a place in the city the casino could work?
We don't have any property really available.
What if we did? Would it work somewhere in the city?
I don't know.
Do you think it could work?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Because the way the way the casinos, years ago, there was only a few of them. Now they're popping up everywhere. We have the Lincoln, which expanded quite a bit. Lincoln, Rhode Island. We
Now
have
they want to build in Tiverton.
Tiverton is they're teaming up, which is right on the Fall River border. The people could, like Plainville was built in the area where it's right off the main highway and out in the woods. If we had maybe a place like that, I'm not sure, but I don't think it's a good type of business to bring in the city. I understand that the revenues they claim it's going to be there, but I'm not sure how long it's going to be there for. And quite honestly, it's up to the state right now. And I have a feeling that we're thinking that they're most likely going to hand it to Taunton, for the Indian tribe. But if that's the case, then do we want is the state actually going to award it to the city of Brockton and the Taunton company or
Well, the
tribe?
state has nothing to do with Taunton, so they have nothing
Well,
to
it's
say
federal.
about it. It's federal.
Well, they have
That's
to-
a very
yeah.
different thing.
But they're going to build it, so I don't think the city's going to get it. To tell you the truth, if they go ahead and start building and they're awarded to build it, they're going to build it.
Is there anything that we haven't touched on? And we've had a wide-ranging conversation.
No, it's just that
you wanna
it's just
leave us with?
it's just that I understand that you're saying I'm vague on a lot of things as far as like the building and the future of the city of Brockton. What I bring into the office is going to be truth and transparency and honesty. I'm going to make sure that the residents are getting the best bang for the dollar as far as taxpayers' dollars go. I've been there as a city councilor, but vision of the city of Brockton it's a tough one. We're not sure. Like I said, we lost our identity, and we got to figure out where we want to go with this identity. What do we want to be known for? Instead of shootings, instead of crime, we should be known for our education. I know that Massasoit and UMass Boston collaboration was going to have something built in the downtown area that could put on the back burners by the governor as far as the funding goes. But that's something that's been visualized with the city of Brockton for a long time. When I first became councilor, I sat with Mary Walden from the B21, and I said, let's bring in a college campus that's downtown in order to bring it in. And she said, well, that Jack Eunice I was thinking about that for years ago. And so it's something that, it's been a vision of everyone's. I think it's under agreement that we do need something to stable, be an anchor for the downtown Brockton. And that's a start. And I agree. So when I was running 2 years ago, I sat with Dr. Wall from Massasoit. He said he was working with the mayor Belzoni at the time, along with UMass Boston, along with Bridgewater. And they were almost into it. And they were also in the agreement that that's where they're going to go. But he couldn't go into any details with me because I was running against the mayor at the time. But it's something that we should have right there. We should be fighting. We should be having someone up there at the State House, banging on those doors, not in saying we need more. We need better. And this is the city of Brockton. Do you want us to fail everywhere we go, every avenue we try to turn down? The same with the Chapter 70 money. We need more help here. A lot of the school department and the city school committee members they're under agreement that the state needs to help us out more. We actually, I think it's the net school spending. I think we're only giving them 94 to 96% compared to a lot of communities that are giving over 100 plus. That would help out with this hiring back the teachers. But we need to bring in the revenues, and that's the problem. So, but we can also do hopefully with the audit we can get done. We can find that money out there with dissolving the enterprise funds to have excessive money. We could take millions from them and put it back to places where where we should be. Back when I was a city councilor, just to talk about the enterprise funds and departments. Up on the third floor you have the water and sewer department, and across the hall you have the building and planning. And I used to go into the building department before the budget start, and they were upset about they might have layoffs in their department. So I look at it as this department who's very upset and concerned about their department losing more people. You go across the hall and they don't care because they know they can't be touched. And that's the big issue with the enterprise funds I see, enterprise departments, is that they're eating caviar and they're eating bread and so it causes a division with the city workers. Mm-hmm. I work for the enterprise fund. You're gonna have to worry about being laid off. So I'd like to see us to do away with that. We know how much they need for a budget, and we've had them long enough. Excuse me. So we need to really look into that and tap into that extra revenue.
Does that require legislative?
It requires the city council to approve it. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I feel is my strong point, is I can get along with the city council.
I was going to say, I saw in your campaign contributions that you had a number of city councilors who have contributed to
A lot of them, a lot of companies stay away from me because I'm going against the mayor. A lot of the city councilors try to just be neutral.
But
I have
collegial
I have
support,
definitely yeah. Not all of them, but I've because I never really Shana Bonds and Shirley Azak, they were coming in when I was leaving, so I didn't really get to know them that well. But when I came in 2006, I came in with Paul Studensky, Michelle Dubois, Robert Sullivan, Tim Cruz, and it was myself. We all came in together in 2006. It was quite a change, and so I know everyone there. And Jace is leaving now, so Tom Monahan came in after me, and Dennis Iannieri I know quite well. Dennis DiNapoli's leaving, so but I know it can get along, and I've been on that side of the fence. I know how frustrating it is when you have a mayor that doesn't want to talk to you, and then I also know how well with a collaboration you can have with the mayor. And I know the mayor has a lot to do with a lot of things. They can make phone calls. I've received multiple phone calls when I was a counselor trying to push a topic for him or her, and saying that would you please vote this way because this is the reason for it. So, and that's what's we have to just talk about it. With it, I can get along with it, but we have to work together. So.